The Galactic Empire had ruled for millennia, its reach stretching across thousands of worlds. It had crushed rebellions, assimilated civilizations, and rewritten history to suit its narrative. It was an empire that had never known fear, until the humans spoke. The High Council of the Galactic Empire convened in the Grand Chamber of the Imperial Core, a planet-sized fortress at the heart of their dominion. There, in the presence of the Empress herself, an emergency transmission played on the colossal holoscreens. The message was from Earth. It was not a plea. It was not a surrender. It was a warning. A man stood in the center of the screen, wearing no armor, no military insignia, just a simple, dark suit. His expression was calm, but his eyes burned with something ancient and terrifying. "My name is Commander Elias Graves of the United Terran Defense Council," he began. His voice was steady, resolute. "You have encroached upon the Sol system. You have threatened our people. You have demanded our submission." He leaned forward, resting his hands on the table before him. "This is your first and final warning. Withdraw. Now." A ripple of murmurs spread through the Imperial Council. The idea that a backwater species like humanity would issue demands to the greatest empire in the known galaxy was absurd. The Empress herself narrowed her eyes. And then Graves smiled. It was a small, almost imperceptible thing, but it was the kind of smile that made the most battle-hardened warriors of the Empire's legions shiver in their seats. "You see," he continued, "you have misunderstood something fundamental about humans. We don't negotiate with tyrants. We don't bow to empires. And we never, ever, surrender." The screen shifted, showing something else now. A live feed from deep space. At first it seemed like nothing. Just the vast emptiness of the void. Then, one by one, they appeared. Human warships. Not sleek, elegant vessels like those of the Empire, but monstrous, armored titans bristling with weapons that looked far too excessive for conventional warfare. Each ship was built with the same philosophy. Overkill was just the starting point. Graves' voice carried over the feed. "We were content to stay on our little blue planet. We wanted no part in your wars, your politics, or your empire. But you came to us. And now." The holoscreen zoomed in on one of the human warships. A dreadnought, easily 3 times the size of an Imperial battleship. Its name was painted boldly across its side in stark, white letters: Retribution. "Now we're coming to you." For the first time in history, the Galactic Empire felt the creeping tendrils of fear. And Earth had only just begun. The silence in the Imperial Council chamber was palpable. The Empress herself had not spoken in several minutes, her golden eyes narrowing as she studied the image of the Terran fleet. Around her, the finest military minds of the Empire scoffed. "Bluster," General Varkos sneered, crossing his 4 arms. "Their ships are large, but they are crude. No elegance, no precision. They look like asteroids with guns strapped to them." "Human arrogance," added Minister Kelther. "They have no understanding of galactic warfare. They are primitives who think size equals power." A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber. The very idea that the Galactic Empire, the greatest power in known space, should be concerned about a species that had only recently left its own solar system was absurd. The Empress let them laugh. Let them scoff. Let them wallow in their delusions. Then she spoke. "Admiral Valos." Her voice was soft, yet it cut through the chamber like a blade. A massive warrior stepped forward, his obsidian armor reflecting the glow of the hologram. He bowed. "Your Majesty." She turned to him. "How long will it take to erase this inconvenience?" Valos smirked. "We can reach their system in 2 cycles, and our battle fleet will reduce their United Terran Defense to ash in half a cycle after that." A slow smile spread across the Empress's lips. "Then let them tremble while they wait." The order was given. The Empire's full war fleet mobilized, hundreds of dreadnoughts and thousands of cruisers making the jump toward Sol. Earth had threatened them. Earth had dared to challenge the Empire. By the time the humans saw their fleet, they would have already lost. Or so they thought. The humans were already there. The Galactic fleet emerged from the hyperlane corridor, weapons primed, energy shields shimmering like oceans of light. The warships formed a wall of death, blocking out the stars as they approached Earth's position. But something was wrong. The expected panic distress signals from Earth? Absent. The anticipated scrambling of human defenses? Non-existent. Instead there was silence. And then came a single, chilling transmission. "We warned you." The words echoed through the fleet's comms. "Commander Elias Graves." And that's when the Galactic Fleet sensors picked up movement. At first, the Imperial commanders thought it was debris. A few unidentified signatures floating in the void, scattered like dust motes. Then the debris turned and accelerated. Massive objects moving at impossible speeds. The fleet scanners fought to keep up. These were not standard warships. These were something else entirely. Identify them. Admiral Valos barked. The sensor officers struggled to comply. Data flooded their screens, mass readings, power signatures, radiation outputs. None of it made any sense. Then the computer forced a classification. Project, Hellforge. Subclass, Graves-class Dreadnought. One of the junior officers whispered, "Those aren't ships." They weren't. They were weapons. Humanity had not built warships in the traditional sense. They had built moving fortresses. And the Empire had just woken them up. Retribution begins. A single human dreadnought, Retribution, moved forward. Alone. A lone wolf stepping toward a pack of rabid beasts. It should have been suicide. It wasn't. A voice came through every galactic ship's comms, clear and cold. You think war is about elegance? The Retribution's hull split open, revealing weapons that made Imperial battleships look like toys. Railguns the size of cities, torpedo launchers designed to crack moons, energy cannons that hummed with the power of a dying star. You think war is about grace? The first shot fired. A single kinetic round, nothing more than a slug of hyperdense metal, was propelled at 1/3 the speed of light. It crossed the void in an instant. An Imperial war cruiser, twice the size of the Retribution, was struck midship. There was no explosion. No shields flickering under stress. No debris cloud. The war cruiser simply ceased to exist. You thought we were joking. The second shot fired. Another warship vanished. Then another. And another. Panic set in. The Galactic Empire had never faced true war before. They had fought skirmishes. They had quelled rebellions. They had crushed lesser species. But they had never faced a species that had spent its entire existence perfecting one thing: total annihilation. And Earth had only just begun. Admiral Valos had never known fear. Not when he had led the subjugation of the Virex homeworld and turned their capital into a monument of Empire rule. Not when he had crushed the rebel forces of the Zenari and lined their moons with the wreckage of their shattered fleets. Not when he had personally executed the last heir of the Tashkari Dominion with his bare hands. But now he felt it. A cold, creeping horror slithering down his spine as he watched Retribution fire its next shot. Another Imperial warship vanished. Then another. And another. No explosions. No wreckage. Just erasure. The Empire's finest fleet, the largest armada assembled in 1,000 years, was disintegrating before his eyes. Valos clenched his fists. All ships. Fire. Fire. The galactic warships unleashed everything they had. Energy lances, hypermissiles, fusion torpedoes. An apocalyptic storm of destruction surged toward the Terran dreadnought. The weapons hit. The screens lit up. For a moment, Valos dared to hope. Then the light faded. And Retribution was still there. Untouched. Unbothered. Its hull shimmered as the kinetic energy of 1,000 weapons was absorbed and redirected. Then the dreadnought fired again. One of the Empire's command ships, a Leviathan-class war fortress, was struck amidships. The blast didn't just destroy it. It punched through the ship, passed through the next ship behind it and the one after that. 3 command ships, turned to nothingness in one shot. The Imperial fleet crumbled. Not from battle damage. Not from enemy tactics. From pure, unfiltered terror. The human broadcast. Valos staggered back, his second heart hammering in his chest. This can't be real. This can't be real. But it was. And then the human spoke again. A broadcast appeared on every Imperial ship. A live feed. The bridge of the Retribution. A human stood in the center, wearing a dark military uniform. His expression was not one of anger or hatred or even triumph. It was boredom. Commander Elias Graves. He stared into the screen as if looking directly at Valos. You invaded our space. His voice was calm. You ignored our warning. Graves leaned forward. Now you'll understand what war actually is. Behind him, a massive hollow map of the battlefield was displayed. Red dots, Imperial ships, blinking out one by one. But then something else changed. The human ships began moving. The Retribution was not alone. The Empire had thought the dreadnought was a vanguard. It wasn't. It was the bait. Hundreds of human warships decloaked at once, appearing like ghosts in the void. No sleek designs. No intricate, ornamental ships. Just hulking masses of destruction built for one purpose: the annihilation of anyone stupid enough to stand against them. Valos choked back a scream. They were already here. The fall of an empire. The battle lasted another 7 minutes. Not because the empire fought bravely. Because the humans let them run. The remaining Imperial warships fled in every direction. Discipline broke. Commanders screamed over comms, begging for orders that would never come. The Galactic Empire's greatest fleet became a mass grave, its wreckage drifting in silence. And then, just as quickly as it began, it was over. The humans let the survivors live. Not out of mercy. To deliver a message. To carry the fear back home. As the broken remnants of the Empire's once great fleet limped away, a final message echoed across every Imperial channel. One sentence. One promise. Next time we won't give a warning. Admiral Valos didn't remember how he got back to the bridge of the Imperator Rex. One moment he was watching the impossible destruction of the Empire's fleet. The next he was standing in front of his officers, his breath ragged, his mind fractured. How did this happen? The Empire had ruled for 10,000 years. It had faced rebellions, alien uprisings, full-scale wars, and won them all. And yet, in the span of one battle, the humans had brought them to their knees. Valos turned to his officers. They looked broken. Commanders, strategists, hardened veterans, every single one of them was shaking. Their gazes flicked toward the viewport, where the wreckage of the greatest armada in history drifted, shattered beyond recognition. One of his bridge officers, a hardened warrior who had once executed an entire planetary council without blinking, was muttering to himself in a fetal position. Valos clenched his jaw. If this is fear, then what do the humans feel? He turned his attention back to the holoscreen. Retribution was still there. Still watching. The humans weren't attacking anymore. They didn't need to. They had already won. The Emperor demands answers. Valos activated a secure link to the Imperial core. A holographic projection of Emperor Zirian 7 appeared, his golden robes draped over his reptilian form, his eyes filled with the cold intensity of a ruler who never tolerated failure. Explain, the Emperor said. Valos opened his mouth. No words came. He had prepared so many explanations before the battle began. The humans would be overwhelmed. Their technology inferior. Their spirit broken. But now, how do you explain defeat to an emperor who had never known it? Zirian's eyes narrowed. You have failed me, Valos? Valos trembled. No, it's not my fault. It was the humans, he managed to whisper. We were wrong about them. We thought they were weak. We thought they... Enough, the Emperor snapped. Do you mean to tell me that one species has crippled our fleet in a single battle? Valos swallowed. Yes. The Emperor's expression darkened. Then tell me why I shouldn't have you executed for this disgrace. Valos inhaled sharply. He had to make him understand. Sire, he said, his voice trembling, this is not like any war we have fought. The humans, they don't conquer. They don't negotiate. They eradicate. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. And yet they let you live. Valos shuddered. Because they want us to know what's coming. Silence fell. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was not in control. Earth's final message. A transmission cut through every Imperial channel. The human commander appeared again. Elias Graves, the man who had watched the Empire burn without emotion. His voice was calm. Measured. Your empire is finished. But we are not monsters. We will give you one chance to survive. A new holomap appeared behind him, showing the vast expanse of the Empire's territory. Red lines crossed through every major system. Pre-marked targets. Graves continued, his eyes cold. Surrender. Withdraw from all occupied worlds. Disband your fleets. Swear in writing that you will never set foot in our space again. His tone darkened. Or don't. And we will erase your empire from history. The screen cut out. The Emperor's last decision. For the first time in the Empire's history, an emergency war council was called. The greatest minds of the Imperial military, strategists, generals, and admirals, assembled to determine the fate of the Empire. But as Valos watched them, he already knew the truth. This wasn't a war council. This was a funeral. The Empire was finished. Because Earth had spoken. And the galaxy would never be the same. The end. If you want more stories like this, subscribe now. Humanity's war is far from over.